Hello class, this is a video for section 2.7, derivatives and rates of change. Now in this video, at the end you should be able to find the slope of a tangent line to a curve at a point. There are two definitions that we're going to look at. And then find the velocity, which is the same as the instantaneous velocity over a time interval. And then define the derivative of a function at a point. And the next section we will look at the derivative as a function. Okay. So as we know from section 2.1, we realized that we had a problem, the tangent problem, and then the velocity problem. Okay. And in both cases, they were involving finding the limit. Okay. And this type of limit, if you remember, we said it's called a derivative. And we see that it can be interpreted as a rate of change in any of the natural or social sciences or engineering. Now, by the purpose of the derivative, as I mentioned before, is to find the slope of a curve. Okay. But to achieve this purpose, we pick a point on the curve and then find the slope of the tangent line to the curve at that point. Okay, so again, this is extension of section 2.1, whereby we use the concept of 2.1 to define what derivative. Okay, there are two definitions that we'll be considering. Okay, the first one is that the tangent to the curve, where you have f of x, all right, you have f of x and then f of x at a point with the a and f of a, that's the function value. So the slope is given by the limit as x approaches a, f of x minus f of a over what? If you remember that expression, f of x minus f of a over what? X minus a. All right. So provided this limit exists. Okay. If it doesn't exist, that means we can find the slope. Okay. And then the other definition is through the same point, where in this previous definition we replace the x by the expression where x is equal to a plus what? Plus h. So in this case, your h is what? X minus what? X minus a. And then when you substitute this into the previous, this expression here, okay, and simplify, you get this expression. In fact, among these two, this is the easiest one to use, okay? That's the easiest form to use, okay? And then I'll be looking at an example where I look at both definitions, and then after that, I'll maybe sticking to more on the second definition. All right, so here's an example. Suppose we are given the parabola with y is equal to x squared through the point 1, 1. Okay, now part A, we want to use both definitions 1 and 2 to solve this problem. All right, and so now our f of x, which is y, we said y is equal to what? Your x squared. So then your f of x is what? X squared. And then the point, okay, at this point P with 1, 1, your a is the s coordinates. Okay, the s coordinates, that's your a. Okay, because f of 1, which is in the formula, is what? F of what? F of a. So with the definition 1, it said that to find the equation of the tangent, we need the what? The slope. So the slope, okay, m is given by the limit x approaches what? A of f of x, okay, minus f of a divided by x minus a. Now, if I have this is the same as the limit, okay, let me write this. Okay, that's equal to the limit x goes to what? A, and then f of x is what? S squared minus a squared, then divided by x minus what? Minus a. Now, we can simplify this into what? The limit x over s of a, and this is x plus a, and then that is what? What do you call it? X minus a, then divided by x minus what? Minus a. Okay, so then if you have this, then that is equal to the limit, okay, x goes to a, and therefore x plus a, where these two factors cancel. Now, as x approaches a, you have what? A plus what? A, which is what? 2a. Now, in this case, what is your a? A is equal to 1. Therefore, the slope is equal to 2 times 1. Excuse me, which is equal to what? 2. Now, I can solve the same thing in a different way. I mean, when I get to what I mean by that, I'll substitute the a equal to 1 into the expression here and then simplify. It's much easier. So let me show that to you. Excuse me. So you have m is equal to what? The limit. And it's got the limit, x goes to what? A, right? Of what? F of what? A, x minus f of a divided by x minus a. But if your a is equal to 1, then you have the slope is equal to the limit, x approaches 1, and then you have what? F of x minus f of 1 divided by x minus 1. Now, if you have this, then it's what? The limit, x goes to 1. We have x squared minus, because f of x is x squared, and then 1 squared divided by x minus 1. And then again, similarly, when you simplify, x approaches 1. You have x plus 1, and they have for x minus 1. Then divided by x minus 1. Okay, so see that cancels out, and then you have 4. And then as s approaches 1, you have what? 1 plus 1, which is 2. Now, if the slope is m, which is equal to what? Equal to 2, then what is the equation of what? Of the line? Okay, the equation is what? Y minus y1, okay, is equal to the slope, which is 2x minus x1. Okay, or this is what? Y minus 1 equal to 2 times x minus 1. And that will give us y is equal to 2x minus 1 as my what? As my equation. If you remember, we did do the same problem in the previous sections, and we had the same what? Equation of what? Of the tangent line. Okay. Now let's just do the other problem using definition 2. Okay. So part B, we are using definition 2. Okay. The definition number 2 is the slope is what? The limit. Okay. The limit is equal. Let me erase that. Yeah. Okay. The slope m is equal to the limit h, it goes to 0, f of a plus h minus f of a divided by what? H. Now, what is our f of x? It's still what? X squared. And so when I have this, I'm going to substitute f of a plus h. It will be what? A plus h all squared minus a squared, then divided by what? Divided by h. So then let's expand the what? The numerator. You have the limit, h goes to 0. You have a squared plus 2ah plus what? H squared minus a squared divided by what? H. Now this will cancel out, okay? And then we have what? The limit, h goes to what? 0, 2ah plus what? H squared divided by h. Now, if you divide this, you have the limit, h goes to 0 and 2ah over h plus h squared over what? If you split that, then that is equal to the limit, h goes to 0 of what? 2a plus what? H. Now, as h goes to 0, you have what? 2a. Now, again, as what? A is equal to 1, then the slope m is equal to what? 2 times 1, which is what, 2. Okay, so we could have still substitute the what, the 1, okay, a equal to 1 into this, and they have 1 plus h instead of what, a plus h, and then simplify them, it will come out easily. Okay, I like that approach better. If I want to show that to you, we can say that, okay, when m is equal to the limit, h goes to what, 0 of what, f of 1 plus h minus f of what, 1 divided by what, h. So if you have the limit, h goes to 0, f of 1 plus h, okay, will be what? Will be 1 plus h all squared minus f of 1, which is 1, then divided by what, h. Now, when you simplify, this is shorter, and the simplification is not cumbersome as the first, I mean, this one over here on the left. So this is what, 1 plus what, 1 squared plus 2h plus h squared minus 1 divided by 8, and then negative 1 and positive 1 will be 1 to 0, and then h divides each of them. You have the limit, h goes to 0, and you have what, 2 plus what, h. And as h goes to 0, you have what, the slope is what, just 2. And so again, what is the equation of the what? Of the tangent line, okay? The equation of the tangent line is the same thing, y minus 1 equal to what, 2 times x minus 1. Or when you simplify, you have what, y is equal to what, 2x minus 1. Okay, so what is this, plus 1? You get minus 1, and that's plus 1. So you get 2x minus 2, that's 2x minus 2, and then you have, okay, so 2. That's correct, it's minus 1. Right? So it's y equal to 2x minus 1. Okay, so that is it for using the two definitions. You see that we have arrived at the same word, same conclusions. All right. Now, the instantaneous velocity 2, okay, is given by that. Okay, for the time interval a plus h, okay, then as a short interval, the definition is that the velocity at a, that means, so if you have the interval 1 and 2, your a in this case is what, is 1. It's given by this formula. Or we could have defined this as same as what the limit, what you have in this case, maybe t, because if involving t goes toward a, f of what, t minus f of a over t minus what, a. But we want to stick to what, just the second definition. All right, so here is an example. Okay, here's an example. It says that if a rock is thrown upward on the planet Mars with a velocity of 10 meters per second, its height in meters after t seconds is given by the formula we have here. So find the velocity of the rock after 1 second. And when will the rock hit what? The surface. Okay, so again, here, what is 1 for part A? My A is equal to 1 because it's what, 1 second. All right, and so the velocity at 1, okay, is given by what? The limit, h goes towards 0, and you have velocity. So in this case, will be capital H of what? 1 plus what? 1 plus h minus h of what? 1, okay, divided by what? Divided by h. Okay, so then this is equal to the limit, h goes to 0. What is h plus 1? That gives me 10 times 1 plus h minus 1.86, and then 1 plus what, h all squared. Let me get more space here. Let me erase this line. okay, minus, okay, we have what? H of 1. That means we're going to substitute what? There'll be 10 times 1 minus 1.886 what? Times 1 squared. Okay. All divided by what? Divided by h. Okay. So then this is equal to what? The limit h goes towards 0. Now if you multiply this out, you have what? You're going to have 10 plus 10h minus as 1.86, then 1 plus 2h plus h squared. Then you have minus 10 plus 1.86 times 1, okay? And then divided by what? H, okay? Then this is equal to what? Now you see that the 10 will cancel out, okay? And then we're gonna have what? 10h is gonna be there. And then we have what? 1.16. Now you see that it is minus 1.86 times 1.86 times 1. And so this part will go away. So what we are left with will be what? The limit h goes to 0 of what? 10h, then minus 1.86 times 2h. That will give me 3.72h. And then we have what? Minus 1.86 h was squared divided by what? Divided by h, which will give us the limit h goes to 0. It will just be 10, all right, minus 3.72, then minus 1.86 h. Now as h goes to 0, you're going to have just 10 minus 3.72, okay? And then when you simplify that, that should give you, this is equal to us, 6.82 meters per what? Per second. So that's the velocity, okay? That's the velocity, okay? The velocity of the rock, okay? At what? After 1 second. Okay, so that's the velocity is what? 6.86 meters per second. All right, now we're going to extend this to the derivative, the former definition. All right. I have part B to do. Now it said, when does the rock hits the the ground? That's part B. When? So the rock, okay, hits the ground. Okay, when it hits the ground, when what? The height is equal to what? 0. So basically we're going to take what? H of what? H of t, and we set to 0 and solve for what? And solve for the time t. Okay, so we have what? 10t minus 1.86 t squared equal to what? Equal to 0. Okay, now if you set it to 0, well, we can factor t out and we have what? 10 minus 1.86 t equal to 0. So remember, this is either t goes to 0 or 10 minus 1.86 t equal to 0. Now, so t equals 0 is when you start the rock was, shot up or thrown up. That's the starting point. And so the other time is what? The t is equal to what? 10 divided by 1.86, and that should give us 5.38 seconds. Okay, so this is the time after it was being thrown. This is the time it hits the ground again. Okay, so now let us define the derivative formally. Okay, so here is the definition. Now remember, this is the slope. What we just did over there, because you have a function f of x. Okay, if I want to find the slope of the slope m at what? x is equal to a. Then if I call this as a function, then that is what f prime of what? Of a. And so basically what we have there is the same as, like I said, is a slope. So the derivative formally is defined as what? Using the second definition. Okay, we are using the definition number what? Number 2. Okay, or the other definition 1, if you do that, that also gives you that. So we can have both definitions and then what? To solve a problem. So we're going to use, we're going to pick one problem, and then we'll do that. Given the function, we want to do that using both what? Both definitions. Okay, so I'll use this one and then that for the next example. Okay, but let's have this remark. Now notice that the f prime at a, that is the slope of the tangent line at a, which is now we are calling it what? F prime of a, is also called the instantaneous rate of change. And then the point slope form of the equation of the what? Tangent line at a, or through the at the point a, f of a is given by this, where this is my what? My y1, and then that is my what? My slope n. Okay, so now we have this problem that we want to find the equation of the tangent line to this curve, y is equal to 4x minus s squared at what? At the point f of what? At the point 1 and 3. Okay, so let's see, I have, all right, this example and then one more. Just wanted to make sure I have a space there. All right, now our f of x, this is the solution. F of x is your 4x minus x what? X squared. Okay, my point P is 1, 3. So if I want to find, in this case, your A, my A is 1. So f prime, so I'm saying the slope, okay, I'll say that the slope of the tangent line is f prime of A, which is the f prime at 1, is given by the limit. Okay, if I use the first one, h goes towards 0 of what? F of 1 plus h minus f of 1 divided by h. All right, so now think of it. We have the function, okay, now f of x is that, which is given over here. So then this is equal to the limit. As always, we want to simplify that before we impose the limits, right? Which will give me what? 4 times 1 plus h minus 1 plus h all squared. Then minus, I want to put that in parentheses, 4 times 1, because f of 1, when x is 1, then minus what? 1 squared. Now all divided by what? Divided by h. So let's simplify that. You have the limit, h goes to 0. You have 4 plus 4h, 4h, and then minus, in parentheses, 1 squared plus 2h plus h squared. Then minus what? 4. Then plus what? Plus 1. All divided by what? Divided by h. So then that is equal to the limit, h goes to 0. Then we have 4. Now notice that, yeah, okay, let's write this out first. 4 plus 4h minus 1 minus 2h minus h squared, then minus 4 plus 1. Now this 4 will cancel, 1, negative 1 and positive 1 will cancel out. Okay, don't forget all divided by h. So this is the limit, h goes to 0, and you have what? 4h minus 2h minus h squared, all divided by h. So you basically have what? 2, get the limit, the limit h goes to 0, and they have what? 2h minus h squared, all divided by h. Now if you simplify that, you have the limit, h goes towards 0, and you just have what? 2 minus what? 2 minus h. Okay, and so when you simplify 2 minus 8, it goes to 0, you just have what? That. So the slope m is equal to 2. And what is the equation? Okay, the equation of what? Of the tangent line at the point 1, 3 is what? Y minus 3 equal to 2 times x minus 1. So you have y minus 3 equal to 2x minus 2, and then you have y is equal to 2x, and that will be plus what? Plus 1. Okay, that's the equation. All right, now let us use the other definition there and then do the same problem. Okay, so I have that. Let me do the, I'm gonna separate that. Oh well, I was gonna show you the other formula too. They get the same thing. Let me erase this part because I didn't have the space there. Okay. Okay. I'll just use it to find the what? The slope, just to show you that the slope is the same as what? If you use both formulas, you get the same answer. In this case, we got 2. And when we do that, we should have the same answer. So let me show you that, and then I'll leave the equation part for you to do, because it should be the same as I have here. Okay, so you have that. Using the other definition, the slope m is the limit x goes toward a, and have what? F of a. So by the way, let me just say that this is f prime of 1. Okay, the slope is what? F of x minus f of what? A over x minus a, which is the what? F prime at what? At 1. So now since a is equal to 1, because the point, all right, you'll have your f prime at 1 is the limit x goes to a of f of what? X minus f of 1 over what? Over x minus what? Minus 1. So if you do that, then you have what? The limit x goes to what? This is going to be 1. Now let's change that to 1, sorry. And that is what? 4x minus x squared. Okay, minus 4 times 1 minus 1 squared divided by x minus 1. So they have the limit x goes to 1. This is 4x minus x squared, and that will give me get 4 minus 1, which is what? 3. So that's minus what? Minus 3. Okay, all divided by x minus 1. Now we need to simplify that. X goes to 1, which is same as minus x squared. Okay, minus x squared plus 4x minus 3, which is x minus 1. So when you factor the numerator there, okay, you have the limit x goes to 1. You factor the numerator there, you're going to have factor negative 4. You have x plus minus 1 times x minus 3. And then this divided by what? X minus 1. Okay, so again, these factors will cancel out. Okay, and then we have the slope, which is what? F prime at 1 is the limit x goes to 1. X goes to 1 of what? Negative x minus what? 3. Okay, so then look at it. When you have minus, x goes to 1, you have what? Minus 1 minus 3. and that gives us minus 2 times that, then minus times negative 2, which is what, positive 2, which is the same as what we got over here. Okay, same as we got here. So I've shown that that's how to use the other formula to find the slope, and then the equation is the same as that. Okay, so I'm going to stick to the first way I saw I got the slope. All right, so then let's look at the last problem. Okay, I'm going to use the both definitions, which is 4 and 5, to do this problem. This will require some algebra, but I will take my time to explain it to you. Okay, so definition 4 is using the what? Using the other. Let's go back there. Let's know what the definitions 4 and 5 are before we what. Okay. This is definition 3. Okay, so definition 4 and 5. Okay, so make sure that we are consistent with what the notes. So definition 4 is that is part A, that the slope, that is f prime at A, this will require some algebra, so is equal to the limits h goes towards 0, f of A plus h minus f of A divided by what? Divided by h. Okay, so now let's get to work. So f prime of A, okay, prime of A, let's go back. F prime of A. Now my f of x is this expression, okay, is equal to the limit h goes to what? H goes to 0, and look at the expression. So that is what? 2 times A plus what? Plus h, okay, then plus 1 divided by A plus h, then plus what? 3, then minus f of A. F of A is this what? When you substitute A for t, then it will be what? 2A plus 1 over what? A plus what? Plus 3. Then all this divided by what? Divided by h. Okay, so now let us simplify this. Okay, now if you have this, you want them to have the numerator, look at it, they want to have a common denominator. It means you multiply this part by the denominator here, A plus 3, and the other one by that. So we're going to do that and then simplify. Going to be some work. So we have for the limits, 8 goes towards 0, and you have 2A plus, okay, 2A plus what? Plus h. All right, then plus 1. All these divided times A plus 3, okay, minus 2A plus 1 times A plus h plus 3, then all divided by A plus h plus 3 times A plus 3. Then we're going to write this as what? The division, I'm going to write it as 1 over 8 times 1 over what? 1 over h. Okay, so now let's simplify that. That's the limit. 8 goes to 0. Okay, we're going to multiply everything out. Okay, and then some of the factors will cancel. So if you multiply this out, you have what? 2A plus 2h. Okay, sorry, I'm going to, you have the everything, I'm multiplying everything out here. I'm leaving the 1 over h here, all right? 1 over h, and I'm going to multiply everything. And if you do it carefully, you have the following: 2AH plus A, okay? Then plus, we have 6A plus 6H plus 3, and then we're going to subtract, and we'll put that in parentheses, okay? That is, this time the two factors here will be 2a squared. Actually, this is squared, not a. 2a squared plus 2ah, then plus what, 6a, then plus a plus h plus 3, okay? Then everything here divided by the denominator, we have the a plus h plus 3 times a plus what? A plus 3. Okay. Now notice that, say we have for 2a squared, this 2a squared will cancel that out. 2ah will also cancel out, okay? And then over here we have a plus what? A plus 6, okay? It will be 7a, that will cancel this a because there's minus there. And then we have h, okay? We have 6h there plus 3. All right, so what we have there is you go to the limit, h goes towards 0, 1 over h times, okay, what is left up there, it will be what, 6h, okay, and then plus 3 also minus 3 will cancel out. So you're going to have 6h, yeah, basically 6h minus h divided by the numerator a plus h plus 3 times a plus what? Plus 3. So what you have there will be the limits. H goes towards 0. 1 over h times 5h, okay, divided by that expression, a plus h, not plus 3, and then a plus what? 3. Now look at it, this 8 will cancel out. So then you have the limits. 8 goes towards 0 at what? Be 5 over. If 8 goes to 0, then you have what? A plus 3, a plus 3. So your answer would be what? 5 divided by, sorry, as 8 goes to 0, okay? As 8 goes to 0, you have what? A plus what? 3 squared. That's what our answer. Okay? Some algebra, but you know, you have to be patient and able to multiply things out. And then finally, if we look at the other definition, we have this. The definition is that the f prime of a is the limit x goes to what? A, f of x minus f of what? A divided by x minus what? Minus a. Now don't forget our f of x, in this case f of t, is what? 2t plus 1 over t plus what? Plus 3. Okay. So if I use this definition again, we're gonna have some, so this is equal to the limit, okay, this will be t, so x will be t goes toward a, and then I have 2t plus 1 over t plus 3 minus 2a plus 1 over what? A plus what? 3, all divided by t minus what? A. Okay. So I'm going to pull the denominator, this out just like this for the h. So we have the limits, t goes toward a, then I have 1 over t minus a. So let's put these guys together. All right. So let's simplify the numerator, which is going to be what? 2t plus 1 times a plus 3, okay, minus 2a plus 1 times t plus what? 3, all divided by what? T plus 3 times a plus what, 3, like that. So let's multiply the numerator out. Some of the things will go out, will factor, they will cancel out, and then we have 1 over t minus a, okay? If you multiply this out, you're going to have what? 2at, you FOIL that, plus the 6t, then plus what? A, plus what? 3, and then on this side you have minus 2at, and then minus 6a, and you have what? Minus t minus 3. Then divided by t plus 3, and then a plus what? Plus 3. So let's see some of the terms of this will cancel out, and these terms will cancel out. And then you have what? 6t plus a minus that. Okay, 6t plus a. So you get the 6t, 6t minus 6a. All right. And then the t minus that, t minus, well, that'll be 5t. So this is equal to the limit t goes toward a of 1 over t minus a. All we have there will be 5 for t minus 5a divided by then t plus 3, and then a plus what? 3. Okay. Now let's factor 5 out. So that's the limits t goes toward a. Then 1 over what? T minus a times, factor 5 out, we have what? Just t minus a divided by t plus what? 3, and then a plus 3. Now this factor will cancel that out. So you get the limits t goes to a of what? 5 over t plus 3, and then a plus what? 3. Now as t goes to a, this becomes what? 5 divided by a plus 3 times a plus 3, and which will give us this and say answer as we got using the other definition, a plus 3, or right down here again, 5 over a plus 3 all squared. So this is what? This is equal to f prime at what? At a. That's the definition, or which is the same as the slope of what? Of the tangent line. So that actually brings us to the end of this section, and I hope we will see you in the next video.